Welcome back to DHR. We're glad to see you. We want to talk about a shooting that took place in Duncanville, Texas. It's somewhere, I don't know, north of Austin. Nobody cares about that.
Dallas, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
Do we care about what happens in Dallas, really? No. Should be another state.
I do.
A 42-year-old Dallas man who was killed by police after firing shots at a Duncanville youth summer camp on Monday morning was experiencing a mental health episode, his family told news outlets. Now, honestly, I think this is the best outcome. You show up with a weapon, you're either at a school or a camp or a summer camp facility for children, and you're endangering these kids. And from what I understand, there was a staff member who had a weapon.
So I read that in several articles.
And he began engaging Ned and basically held him off until police could show up, and then they were able to use deadly force and stop him.
Yeah, he drove up, or actually he rode up to the summer camp with somebody else who was supposed to drop off their daughter, and he went inside, and his family members said he was paranoid, and then he was approached by people at the from the campground, staff members, and he became agitated and paranoid, so he pulled out the gun.
Well, so apparently he fired a shot at a locked door of a classroom that had children inside.
Yes, because he couldn't get in.
Right. And so, but this staff member was able to delay him long enough that responding officers were able to get there.
Yeah, they got there within 2 minutes, I understand.
Yeah. And that's how it's supposed to, this is how it's supposed to work.
Yes.
This is what should have happened in Uvalde. And it didn't. No. And it's damn tragic. So we see the exact opposite of Uvalde occurring in Duncanville, and barely a word on the news.
Exactly.
A mass shooting was prevented because properly motivated, I'm not even going to say trained anymore, because training is irrelevant if you don't use it. Properly motivated staff members, properly motivated police officers engaged the aggressive suspect. I don't care about his mental health at all. His mental health is not even, you can murder somebody whether you're having a schizophrenic paranoid episode or whether you're completely sane and sober. Your mental health is irrelevant at that moment.
Yeah.
You are a threat of serious bodily injury or death. And fortunately, Texas law doesn't care either. Texas law doesn't make exceptions for people who have mental health issues. If you are a threat of serious bodily injury or death, well, you have opened the door to deadly force. And in this situation, we see what happens when properly motivated people who are responsible for the care of children actually do what they're supposed to do, actually finish the mission of protecting the children. And all those children went home alive and safe.
Everybody did except for him. Nobody else was hurt. The good guy with the gun
beat the bad guy with the gun.
Or the police officers, none of them were hurt.
Yeah.
And
the guy in Uvalde was also allegedly in the middle of a mental health crisis as well, but again, irrelevant.
So I just don't understand what that has to do with anything.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with it. But you would think that the media would take its time to go ahead and look at incidents where the police and the public and the staff members of the school all do their job in concert, and as a result, none of the children were injured. None of the children were killed. Everybody went home safe. Even though he was shooting into the door of one of the classrooms where there were children, even though he was firing a weapon in a school to get to innocent kids, I guess, to murder them, he was stopped. But because everybody was properly motivated and doing their job, it never happened. And I just wanted to take the time to point that out. And I would really like at least local media to also take a look at that and point that out and say, look, this is how it's supposed to go. This is the result we're looking for. This is why we train you. This is why we equip you. This is why we, provide you the proper mindset to interfere with people who want to do harm, to do evil. Joseph?
Yeah, this is definitely a case where the good guys with a gun stopped the bad guy with a gun. That's all there is to it. And it also is one of those cases which I didn't really believe it at first that it happened because, I mean, the guy's a felon. How can he have a gun?
Oh, that's right. He was a convicted felon.
Yeah. So, I mean, I thought surely it was a lie, because he's a bad guy with a gun. How can he have a gun if he's convicted? That's what I mean.
We have laws against that.
There are laws
he was breaking the
against it.
law. Good heavens.
My goodness.
You would think people would follow the law.
Yeah, but they don't. Okay. So a good guy with a gun stopped a recidivist bad guy with a gun. And who knows how much training the staff member had. And this is one of the things that there's one of my pet peeves that people, especially like conservatives, that are saying, yeah, we would need to arm our teachers with the proper training. Okay, what about if it's just decent training? What about if, they don't have any training, but they know how to use the gun? Isn't that better than a sharp stick? How much training do you think that one of those teachers in Uvalde would really have to point it at the door when the guy comes in and starts shooting? None.
But what they really need is motivation. They need the proper mindset. Hey, if you see somebody with a weapon going towards a school, we don't care. All bets are off.
Yes. Yeah.
Put them down. Put them down. Yeah. We don't care put them down. Because we've seen too much of this. And then when you find out that one of the officers carrying an AR-15 could have shot, the guy going to Robb Elementary in Uvalde
before he got in.
Yeah,
had a clear sight on him,
but didn't do it. That's not a lack of training. That's a lack of motivation.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
that is an improper mindset.
He said that he was waiting for permission to fire, like he's in Top Gun or something. They do not fire until you're fired upon. Okay, no, but no police officer needs to ask. In fact, you cannot tell a police officer if you're a supervisor to shoot or not to shoot. Okay, he didn't need to ask permission to fire, and he thought he was afraid that he might hit a child because he couldn't make the shot.
Well, that goes into my. I'm secretly a conspiracy theorist, but that goes into my whole conspiracy theory mindset about law enforcement in general, is that the powers that be, the people who kind of parasitically work themselves into positions of power in our government, have deliberately placed people in positions of power over law enforcement. Mm-hmm. That they know they will micromanage their agents, federal agents. They will micromanage their police officers. They will micromanage their sheriff's deputies to death, and they will demotivate them. Mm-hmm. And they know that once you demotivate individual law enforcement officers from wanting to do their job, they won't do their job. They won't stop the bad guys. And that's really what they want. Ultimately, they want is crime and terror. And we actually talked about that with Sergeant Anderson in his interview, where we were talking about the fact that crime is overtaking Houston and what goes on behind the scenes, really, that allows that to even take place. And I've always said, if you had 2,000 highly motivated, well-trained, well-equipped police officers, you could patrol and investigate crime and really suppress crime throughout Houston.
Yes.
All day and all night long. If you had 2,000 highly motivated, hardworking officers. But
because that's probably less than that actually do all the work.
Well, here's the thing is there's the 80-20 rule, right? In any organization, right? So 80% of the work is done by 20% of the people.
Yeah.
Right? I think that's called the Pareto rule. And so in HPD, we have like 5,200 officers.
Was he an officer, Pareto? Because that's the HPD rule.
So there's about 5,000 or so, give or take, a couple of hundred officers. And so 20% of that would be about 1,000, right? Between 1,000 and 1,200 that actually do 80% of the work.
Yeah.
And it applies, right? So, but if you had 2,000, you would literally have twice the number of hardworking, highly motivated officers.
Yeah, I mean, you'd be busy.
You would be crushing crime,
but you would be busy, and it would be a hard job.
I don't think so.
But,
I think
it wouldn't be hard for people who are motivated.
Well, no, but I mean, after about 6 months, criminals would get the idea, oh man, if I do this, they're going to come and monkey stomp me and put me under the jail as far as they possibly, and then they're not going to, and it demotivates the criminals.
Oh, you better believe it.
So the conundrum we've caught ourselves in Houston and in cities across the country is we have demotivated the police and we have motivated the criminals.
Mm-hmm. Oh, definitely.
And, you know, and it goes back to those de-escalation techniques. Oh, de-escalation. No, de-escalation only demotivates officers from using that degree of force necessary to bring a situation under control. And it motivates criminals into, well, if I use more force, I can get these guys to back off. And a perfect example is high-speed chases. If the criminals drive fast enough and far enough, the police will give up and stop chasing them. So now every criminal in a high-speed chase just tries to drive faster and farther than the last guy, knowing that if they go faster and farther, they'll get away. Right. And now all that does is endanger the public, which I've been saying since 2006. Nobody wants to listen.
I remember that.
Yeah. Nobody wants to.
It was on the news.
Nobody wants to listen and nobody cares. And I get that. But again, it's kind of become a national conundrum where we've literally demotivated our officers and we've motivated our criminals.
Oh, yeah.
And the opposite should really be the mission, the goal. And ultimately, it's going to do a tremendous disservice to our society that we've created that atmosphere.
Yes.
How do you feel, Joseph?
Exactly the same way as you. It is definitely demotivated officers. Everything, every policy, every piece of training tries to tell you to do less and less and less. And then the abhorrent punishments and decisions that are made against officers, it makes people go, why would I do anything else?
Well, it goes back to what I heard.
I don't want to do anything else. Yeah,
it goes back to I heard this the first month I was a police officer. You could never get fired for doing nothing.
Yeah.
And that inculcates the whole idea of demotivating law enforcement into one sentence that has become a cancer in law enforcement. You can't get fired for doing nothing. Mm-hmm. And so officers are less likely to take action. They're less likely to take the shot that saves the lives of 19 innocent children.
Yeah.
And no matter what the distance is.
And nothing's going to happen to that officer in Uvalde who said, well, he said two things. He's waiting for permission or he thought he was going to hit children. Okay. Nothing's going to happen to him for not taking that shot.
Right.
Nothing.
And so he's better off not taking the shot. Now, 19 children get murdered. Ho-hum, oh well. But he doesn't get in trouble for not doing what was needed at the moment of truth. If there were, for the rest of his life, the moment of truth, all the training, the equipment, whatever, overtime pay, everything they gave, you know, you're supposed to be there to save lives. And that was the moment. That was the moment to save lives. That one critical, probably 10-second moment from the time he had eyes on the suspect. He had his rifle in his hand. He could have aimed that rifle, but he was waiting for a supervisor to give him permission to stop the evil. I need a supervisor on the radio to help me or give me permission to stop evil. What a retarded concept.
Yeah, it's not true. He was either waiting for permission or afraid to take the shot. So you're waiting for permission, but we're still afraid to take the shot. That dog don't hunt.
Probably because someone has told him he will get sued. Oh, he'll get sued. Even though that's not true, we've got many, go back in our catalog, we've got multiple videos where we explain you can't get sued. Stop thinking you will be, you won't be. But I guarantee you in the back of that officer's mind, well, if I take this shot and I miss, or if I take the shot and it goes through, I'll get sued. No, you won't. No, you will not be sued. Stop.
Yeah, exactly.
Because we pay you to stop evil, and then we create these legal barricades so that you don't have to live in fear of stopping evil and it resulting in some kind of lawsuit. Stop the evil. Mm-hmm. Stop worrying about the lawsuits. Start worrying about stopping bad people from murdering good people.
Yeah, and have some balls.
Well, that's another way to put it. I'm going to turn that into a motion for court. Have my motion to have some balls, Your Honor. Okay.
All right. Nixon motion.
I'll get sanctioned. All right. Thanks for joining us. I appreciate it. We'll see you in the next video.